Most of us work 2 or 3 jobs, and that's something that, while feasible, it's not a good long-term solution. And so, to the degree that we can change the paradigm of our economy so that more people than not can actually be working in year-round professions that happen to be doable from our town, is really the model we should strive for. I'm Sean Murphy. I am the owner of the Arroyo Wine Bar and Gallery on Main Street in downtown Telluride. I have also been recently elected as the mayor of the town of Telluride. I think Telluride is one of the most eclectic mixes of people that I know of in the country. A town of 2,000 people that's full of folks who've come from major markets, most all of whom, in fact, almost without exception, are incredibly well educated and well overqualified for anything we have, employment-wise in our town. But the unique factor of this equation is that all of us have self-selected to be here. 9.9 times out of 10, the person will tell you the exact date that he or she rolled into town. Some people like me arrived in the dark, and so the next morning you wake up and you're just blown away by what you see. Some of us, entered during daylight hours and were immediately in love with the town. And we really have a community where we're striving to figure out how do those of us that want to be here for the next 30 years stay here. Telluride today is a town that's over 90% levered to tourism. And so for us as an economy, a few times a year, that's a wonderful thing. But there are many times of the year and many months of the year where that's not such a good thing. So my vision for Telluride in 20 years, for example, is one where that tourism number is nowhere near close to 90%. And in fact, it would be nice to see something of an even split at that point between tourism and organically viable, sustainable local businesses. I think the town has a couple of tools in their toolbox, one of which is, for example, best example that I know of is this business that I started. When I came to town, over 25% of my startup costs were so-called tap fees. Our town obviously made a policy some years ago, and a lot of this was geared, I think, toward the need to build a new water treatment facility that was going to be very expensive. Well, fast forward to today, we're beyond that. And so I think one thing that the town could do to start with is for new businesses of any nature, or existing businesses that want to expand, for the town to be very open to the idea of abating some or all of these tap fees. Again, in my case, that was 25% of my startup cost. And that's really hard for small business to overcome that high hurdle. And so anything we can do to take roadblocks out of the way is something the town absolutely should be doing. We also need to try to create a broadband infrastructure here that supports the creation of new businesses. And that's frankly another thing that we face a huge challenge. Because there will be a day, and it may be coming sooner than any of us expect, where those real estate transfer tax revenues are certainly going to go down. There will always be some level of resale, but we should not plan on a $6 million number every year in terms of funding our activities. It may be time for us to think about a model going forward that actually, without raising taxes, takes a greater portion of certain tax revenue streams that we get and dedicates them to a certain purpose, like housing. I would just hope that people would be open to having conversation. It's important that we get beyond where we disagree and we focus more on where we have any common bond. Because if we're going to reach a conclusion, a consensus, something that's actually going to help the greatest number of people, that's going to involve all of us.